All right, House Speaker Mike Johnson unveiled a Republican-led foreign aid package yesterday. According to three sources familiar with the process, the legislation would include three aid measures with roughly tens of billions of dollars for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and allies in the Indo-Pacific. A fourth measure would include national security priorities such as seizing Russian assets in the U.S. and a loan lease program for Ukraine and additional sanctions on Iran. Johnson says his preference is to vote on each bill individually, but will let the chamber decide. Joining us now, Republican member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Mike Lawler of New York. Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. So, what are the chances this aid gets through anytime soon? In the case of Ukraine, it has been a long wait.
Well, thanks for having me, Mika. As I've said repeatedly since I took office, we must lead. As leader of the free world, the United States has an obligation to support our allies. Between Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, the United States must get the aid and support necessary. I think it's been a long time coming, absolutely, but I'm glad the Speaker has made the decision to put this on the floor. While it will be four separate bills, my perspective is I'm less concerned about the process and the procedure and more concerned about the end result. We need to get aid to our allies. Russia, China, and Iran are not our friends. They're not our allies. They have engaged in unholy alliance to undermine and destabilize the United States, Israel, and the free world, and we must combat this malign effort.
So I'd love to follow up on that point, because it might be the case that some of your colleagues on the Republican side seem to be not in line with that kind of thinking. And I'm wondering, for these four separate bills, for this aid, will you be able to get the Republican members of Congress on the same page to get this aid through?
Well, I think what you're seeing, frankly, on both sides are challenges. I think the Democrats have a major challenge on aid to Israel. We'll see how many of my Democratic colleagues support that. Obviously, we have had consternation within our conference on Ukraine. But as I've said repeatedly, when you look at what is happening around the globe, these things cannot be taken up as silos. They have to be viewed in the context of the greater conflict. China is the biggest purchaser of Iranian petroleum. It's why I introduced the SHIP Act last year and passed it through the House. And finally, the Senate will be taking this bill up. It's why yesterday we passed the Iran-China Energy Act to go after the financial institutions in China which are facilitating this illicit oil trade. $88 billion in increased revenue to Iran since Joe Biden took office. These sanctions are critically important. You look at what is happening where Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror. It is using the funds from this illicit oil trade to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and now a direct assault on Israel. And as I've said repeatedly, my wife is from Moldova. Her family lives on the Ukraine border. I have no doubt if Ukraine falls, these former Soviet satellite states will fall with it. And that is a calamity that none of us can afford in the United States or in Europe. And so, we must lead. And if we fail to lead in this moment, we will be viewed like Neville Chamberlain was in the lead up to World War II.
So Congressman, you're actually sounding like a conservative Republican, and I haven't heard that out of the House often on this issue. And by the way, the Wall Street Journal editorial page has consistently chided people inside your conference who have been pushing back on doing the very things you're talking about right now. Sometimes a sense of perspective is needed, and if you'd be kind enough to take us into the House conference, and I understand you have people that spout Vladimir Putin's talking points and Russian propaganda, but we also talk about the House Intel chair. We also talk about the House Foreign Affairs chair, McCall. who have both been strong, fierce advocates for Ukraine from the start. And like you, they take what I consider at least to be a traditional conservative stance. I'm curious, inside the caucus, how big of a split is there? Are there 50%, 40%, 30% who are doing Vladimir Putin's bidding, spewing his talking points? Is it 5%? Do most Republicans support defending Ukraine against Russian aggression?
It is a significantly small number, but unfortunately a loud number. And I think what you have seen, with Chairman McCall's comments, Chairman Turner's comments, and what Speaker Johnson is saying, the Republican conference as a whole, the vast majority of members support.
Can I ask you, why is it taking the Speaker so long? I mean, Ukrainians have been dying. Why has it been like what he said yesterday is what you've been saying all along? Why did it take him so long to get there?
Look, to be fair to the Speaker, I think he walked into a very difficult situation, inherited a conference that obviously was broken, a lot of infighting, and we had a lot of things that needed to get, out the door, including the appropriations package. Obviously, if we want to provide aid to our allies, we need to be able to fund our own government. And so getting the appropriations work done was critically important. Getting FISA reauthorized last week, critically important. And now here we are with aid for our allies. I would have liked to have seen this done a lot sooner. Obviously, the House passed aid to Israel back in November of last year. So it is not that we have not moved legislation, but obviously there's been a lot of consternation. When you look at some of the challenges that we're facing across the globe, with all respect, I think Joe Biden has made several mistakes in the lead up to the conflict in the Middle East, including lifting some of the sanctions against Iran. Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror, and they need to be held accountable. $88 billion in increased revenue to Iran through the illicit oil trade is unconscionable. That's why I passed the SHIP Act through the House last October. Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats need to move the SHIP Act immediately so that we can apply secondary sanctions to China, the greatest purchaser of Iranian petroleum. They purchase 80% of it. So this is, we have to look at this in totality. It's not just Ukraine. It's not just Israel. It's not just Taiwan. The United States must lead a concerted effort to support the free world and take on those whose entire purpose is to undermine and destabilize the United States.
So briefly, Congressman, it's one thing to have these proposed legislation out there from the Speaker, these broken out into 4 parts to get the foreign aid out the door instead of in one big foreign aid package. It's another thing entirely to pass them, as you know, through the House, given the narrow margins you have there. Are you confident that all, some, maybe just Ukraine or any of these will make it through the House?
They have to. And this is where Republicans and Democrats have to work together. You look at the fact that we are in a divided government. The Senate will have to pass things. The president, obviously, a Democrat. Republicans and Democrats in the House will have to work together to pass these bills. The Speaker has laid it out. There will be an up or down vote on each. People can vote their conscience. If some of my colleagues are opposed to Ukraine, they can get on the record. If some of my Democratic colleagues are opposed to Israel, they can be on the record. But we must pass these bills and get aid to our allies. If we fail in this obligation, then we fail to be the leader of the free world. And the consequences of that will be dire across the globe.
All right, we'll be watching closely. Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.